Well, getting a job is a challenge, even for the most qualified of candidates, and we do know that to be true. But for folks with a criminal record, it's an extra big red flag, one that places thousands of potential employees outside the job market, largely due to discrimination stemming from background checks, as well as check boxes on employment applications. Now, a nationwide initiative called Ban the Box aims to eliminate criminal records as a specific barrier for seeking employment.
But right now, we have a reentry success story to share. With us now is one man, a Brooklyn father who, when he was released from prison this past May, was also able to beat the system. He's now a youth outreach mentor with the Good Shepherd Services. And we're happy to welcome Thaddeus Canty. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And from the Brownsville Justice Center, which works with ex-offender youth, is Deron Johnston, the Director of Community Initiatives. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, Thaddeus, thank you so much for joining us today. Congratulations on getting out in May. Can you just tell us a little brief sort of history of what your life was before you were incarcerated?
Well, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I was born and raised there, and I was in a neighborhood where there's, a lot of high crime, poverty in the area. And I wound up getting caught up in a situation where it caused me to spend a significant portion of my adult life in prison. And, since while I was in there, I just made up my mind to change because I was a direct contributor to, the destruction that was going on in my neighborhood. So while I was in prison, the light just came on, and I just knew that, can't continue to do this. So I started, making strides to better myself, through education and just self-analysis. So when I got out, I would have given myself a better opportunity, a better chance to succeed.
Well, you speak about self-analysis. Can you tell us, what it was like to sort of figuratively, as you put it, put a mirror in front of yourself?
It's funny that you say put a mirror, because while in prison, I was still doing the same behaviors that I was, involved in the street. So one day, I went to put some water on my face, and I looked up in the mirror, and I saw myself, and I just didn't like what I saw. I was disgusted with what I seen, with the person looking back at me. And I said, you're still a broken individual. So right then, that epiphany right there just made me I shut it down right there, and I changed my life around. And I started going to self-help groups. I enrolled into college, and, I just started mentally preparing myself for my new day with a new mindset. So I know that I had to make those changes, because I know inevitably, if I would have went back out with that same mentality, I would have either been killed in the street or I would have wound up serving the rest of my life in prison.
So, Deron, you're the guy on the other side who comes to see, after you make this realization, how much easier does that make your job when you meet someone walking through the door who's already started the work before they even came home?
There are still challenges. So even after someone comes home, there's still identity development that has to refine itself, right? The stigmas that are associated with our community that comes home are often internalized by the reentry population. So we have wraparound social services at the Justice Center to help with that transition. So yes, there's a challenge finding employment opportunities, but also just making sure that the reentry population has the support when they come home to deal with those internal issues.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, talk about coming home. It's always different when you come home, and neighborhoods change. So I believe you were brought up in the BRIC houses.
Yes, BRIC houses.
That neighborhood has changed
dramatically.
A lot.
Yes.
That neighborhood has changed a lot. So what was it like coming home and seeing your sort of old stomping grounds and how things have changed? How did that make you feel, knowing that not only had you changed, but your neighborhood had changed as well?
Well, first of all, prior to release, I know that I didn't want to go back to the old neighborhood. So I made a conscious decision to go into a 3-quarter transitional house to take advantage of the services that they had there. And during that time, I got involved with a housing program called SEPS. And they liked my story, you know, of what I was explaining to them. And they was like, oh, well, you should do, you know, a story, tell your story on our website. So when we set it up and I went to the actual place where I was going to do the interview, it was right smack dab in my old neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I looked around, I was just amazed, it's like the full circle. Yeah, I was just amazed at how much it had changed so dramatically. And I just looked around and I, you know, explained that, you know, to her, the woman that interviewed me, and I was able to see that not going back around to the neighborhood was best for me, but for me to be able to go back and see how it's different and see that I'm different, you know, was, like you said, was definitely full circle for me.
So, Deron, we know that there are a lot of internal things and processes that have to be worked on, but there's so many external forces that would keep you in that same place. How do you guys prepare folks and even go further by advocating to remove some of those external barriers that are put on people?
Absolutely. So at the Brownsville Community Justice Center, we provide youth programming for young people between the ages of 13 and 29 years old. And that youth programming can look like a variety of things, but one of those things is job readiness. So we do soft and hard skills training, internships, internal and external, for our young people that are looking to go back into the workforce. We also do place-based projects throughout the community, so actually changing the narrative around the community, so when our young people do come back home, they can go into the community and seek employment, and the narrative around the community and themselves has shifted somewhat. So we do place-based projects and youth programming. We also do strategic partnerships with other organizations and companies that are willing to work with our reentry population and provide those employment opportunities.
And even elected officials, too, who are working to unblock the box.
Yes.
Well, can you speak to that? You know, it's a movement that's gaining a lot of steam across the country. I think 21 states are proposing this or are moving forward with that. But how important is it to ban the box?
I think it's extremely important. I think the single most driver of research shows in reducing recidivism is a job, right? So any barrier for any of us trying to seek employment that can be removed, particularly for our vulnerable populations, is a valuable barrier to remove. So banning the box is one of those barriers, right? We want to take the employment or the hiring process in the direction where we can provide opportunities for our reentry community, and banning the box allows that to happen somewhat.
Okay.
So banning the box, for those of us who don't know, you want to break that down?
Ban the box is on applications. When you go apply for a job, they have a box that says, have you ever been convicted of a felony in the past? I think it's like 5 years or so.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly sure. But when an ex-felon is faced with that prospect of checking yes or no, you run the risk of, if you check no, and then they do the background check and they discover it, then you could face some type of prosecution for lying on the application, or you won't get the job at all.
Right.
But if you check yes, you know, the chances of you getting that job, you know, is increased. So you're stuck in, it's like a catch-22, where you know, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So for me, with my personal experience from coming home, you know, I was looking for jobs, and I found one organization that wanted to hire me. And, you know, I went through a little training with them, and they all go for me. I said, all right, this is a good job, I'm gonna get this job. So when they did the background check, another agency that they're affiliated with that, you know, runs checks on guys, you know, the red flag came up. Oh, this guy has a criminal history. So they tell me to present a rehabilitation packet showing that I'm not that same person today. So I get a bunch of letters from reputable people. I get a bunch of letters from a bunch of programs that I've done, certificates, my own program that I've designed. You know, just, there's a lot of things that I put together, nice packet. I sent it to them. And even though the job description didn't fit any of the convictions that I had on my record, I still was denied because of my criminal history. So how does that really work? Like, I've shown that I've changed. I'm a new person. I have all this proof.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, they go through the protocols of, just so they can protect themselves from discrimination lawsuits and all of that. They go through the whole program and everything, and you do this, you do this, do that. But at the end of the day, they're gonna do what they wanna do. And, from my experiences, it has been that you're not gonna get this job because of your record.
Yeah.
But Ikethia Smith from Good Shepherd Services gave me that opportunity. She looked at, she understood where I came from and my story. And she gave me the opportunity to work as a youth mentor and a youth advocate for Good Shepherd Services. And, I had that opportunity.
That cycle of recidivism.
And I went through the same process, and they knew it.
Yeah.
And they gave me that opportunity.
Okay. We're running out of time. Final thoughts, Deron. Can you tell us, what you think are some of the solutions?
Yeah. The young people that we have come into the Brownsville Community Justice Center often ask for three things. One is educational opportunities, another is employment opportunities, and a third is the opportunity to explore entrepreneurship. That entrepreneurship exploration, I think, is a huge contribution to the development of a lot of our young people and figuring out what other options are out there for them. So exploring entrepreneurship and then creating jobs where they can hire other people that are from the community also is one possible solution to that, and creating those kinds of creative partnerships with other organizations and companies that are welcoming our reentry population also.
All right. We are out of time. Welcome home. We want you to come back and join us again soon. Keep doing the good work. Got to come back and let us know how it's doing.